What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds, the podcast that features members of your favorite bands as we explore their love of pop culture. I'm your host, Sean Ma, and this week I'm joined by Matt of GWAR. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
I am doing well today on this fine day. We're finally in consistent, nice weather here in upstate New York.
Nice.
And it's great. It's nice. I'm very happy with it. I'm very excited because it's if you live in the East Coast, especially the northern East Coast, once it gets to spring, it's that weird middle ground of they don't really know if it's still winter or spring yet, and it can suck. So it's nice to be in the on the other end of it finally. How I like to start the show usually, especially with the new guests who haven't been on the show before, is I like to rewind the tape all the way back as far as you can remember to anything that ignited your love for pop culture, whether it was something you read, something you played, something you watched, something even you listened to. So what was that for you, Matt?
I mean, I was always a sponge for it. Like, comic books, movies, television. Definitely a kid growing up on television. So there was definitely moments of excitement all through my childhood for sure that were like horror movies and comic book characters, cartoons, big time. I do remember that there was like a lot of made for TV movies, and there was, well, actually, I don't know if it was completely made for TV movies, but I remember being really little, and there was a gargoyle movie that was like all about these gargoyles taking over this town, and the costumes were just so cool. I was like, oh man, look at those, because I wasn't even really scared. I was like more interested, like, what is that? Like, so that kind of led me down the road of like trying to figure that out, understand how they had people like, first I was like, oh, are gargoyles real? Are they let gargoyles rolling around? Like you can pick up a gargoyle and whatever. There was definitely moments of like science fiction, Star Wars, and all that, reruns of Star Trek, you know. But definitely a big matter in one cartoons. A pivotal a point of insight of creativity, because you're like just getting inundated with all this amazing stuff that now was just mega brand. The big one, the big caveat was professional wrestling, because I watched the crap out of that when I was a kid. It's like very easy to understand, right? Here's a bad guy, good guy. We're gonna fight. Who's gonna win? So yeah, that would say definitely, and it's good music. All of it was just mushed together. I think, and I know everybody says this about their generation, but I was born at the right time for all of it. But you kind of all have your experience on the planet, right?
Do you still watch wrestling now? Are you still into it or no?
As far as like some of the interim stuff, I've been liking it. It's just that, like, I don't know, when you get so far away from the initial idea of it, it's kind of like I tried, I just can't make it through it. I was like, what is happening, man?
It's hard. I kind of fell off because I was big into it when I was younger too. Like loved the Hardy Boys and like Shawn Michaels and obviously like
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Austin and everything like that. Like super into when I was younger. And
well,
then I
Hardy
kind
Boy, Nancy Drew.
of not those Hardy Boys. The ones with fishnets and long hair.
I know.
That was a good joke. And then I fell off, and then I'm personally straight edge. So when the CM Punk documentary came out when he was in WWE the first time,
Right.
I'm watching that and being like, this dude is wearing straight edge like it's like his brand. I was like, this is so fucking cool. So I got back into it because of that.
Oh,
And
nice.
then everything happened, like the indies had the big rise, and then AEW kind of and WWE simultaneously killed the indies.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I loved AEW when it first came out, but then when Punk left and there was all that drama, I was like, I can't take this. So I fell off, and I have not gotten back on since then. It was just like too much. The internet can be too much sometimes, which I'm sure you're well aware
Indeed.
of.
I mean, that's what I benefited when I was a kid. We didn't have that, right? You weren't sitting there in it with all this other stuff. You were just catching what you could. And yeah, I would sort of into it at the point where they were the territories. So there was actually like all the different, you had to get VHS tapes from AWA or here at NWA. You had to, so you could really catch all of it because there wasn't one up until I was probably like, I don't know, sixth grade, grade. You're like, WWF, what's this? Cool.
Right.
But I was familiar with like all of the ancillary, and it was still you get these tapes of like super old ass dudes who've been wrestling since the 50s who were like actually trying to do Greco Roman style wrestling in the ring, but also all these. Yeah, that was really a simple thing. We'd go to the live shows too, and just amazing to watch it live. Oh yeah, cool, Killer Bees. They look cool. They come out, and the manager just like, and you don't see this on TV, but he's like flipping everybody off, and like, like totally like, fuck you guys. Like, but I was like, man, this is so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, live wrestling. I'll still go to some live stuff. I have a friend who's kind of deeply involved with like a sort of local upstate New York promotion that was a thing, and now they just kind of came back after a
Mhm.
bunch of years, and they were like a breeding ground for names who are like massive now. Like I saw AJ Styles wrestle in like a VFW hall, like
Nice.
right before he went to WWE,
Right.
like 2 months later, he was in the Royal Rumble, and I was like, I just saw this guy in front of 200 people. Like, what the like
I was
the
right there. I
Bucks.
could have touched him.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. And like the Bucks were a big part of that promotion. And who else? Like, well, this was before I started getting into it, but like Kevin Owens was a big guy in it, and Brody Lee was the big guy in it because Brody Lee's from Rochester. He's from upstate New York. My biggest bummer is I was supposed to be at the show where Brody Lee debuted in AEW, but of course the pandemic hit and it was an empty arena show. Uh,
Sure.
I had tickets. Like I was like, I can't wait. So it's only a few hours away. Like it could, and they were teasing it before that, so everyone kind of figured it was going to be him. Like, oh yeah, in Rochester, in his hometown, that'd be perfect. Blah blah. And I'm still so bummed I didn't get to witness that. I mean, no one did get to witness that live unless you worked there, but still,
Right.
such a bummer. It was so sad to see him die and everything like that.
Yeah.
Too young, far
Yep.
too young. Such a bummer. But yeah, wrestling is a wild thing.
I have been keeping an eye. So lately, it's been like it's always been well, Rhea Ripley, her career. I've been like, but Danhausen, I've been watching his transformation, and I'm like, oh man, he's nailing. Like at first, his first appearance with girls, I was like, okay, that's fun, it's campy. But when he brought out the midget with the weird Big Dad Rock car he's driving and stuff, I was like, man, he is nailing it. I mean, he feel it feels kind of like what artists go about, right? He's culminating pop culture into his experience. Like I'm a horror host. I'm this crazy wrestler guy. I collect for some reason so I can curse people. It's like, yeah, this is all fun stuff. It's how wrestling should be. Not just these I don't know, like daytime drama or soap opera storylines just woven
Right.
into the wrestling constantly. It's like, where is Dream, right? Where are those big ego each other, each other in the ring? So yeah, that's what I'm like, I'm picking on him. Just hilarious.
Yeah, he's great. Danhausen is awesome. Like great character, like
Yep.
perfect amount of character for it to be because you have to toe that line of like it either has to be realistic or insanely ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
you can't really go in the middle or it's not enough of either. So you have to
Well,
like,
I feel like those abstractions, right? So when everybody kind of went to WWF, their weird abstractions just amplified, right? Because you had Piper doing the Piper spit. Then everybody was more grandiose, right? The shit talking, they're pumping up, being larger than life. I got even more. Like everybody with basic color palettes. You're in yellow and red. Yellow red.
yeah, it's awesome. And I love that kind of stuff. I don't know if we're going pretty hard on wrestling now, but there's one
Sure.
thing I want to bring up to see if you ever watched it. There was a thing that came out it was a good number of years ago at this point, but it was called Lucha Underground.
Oh
Did
yeah.
you ever watch that?
Yep.
I loved that. That
Oh
was like
yeah.
my
Lucha's
favorite.
there that's a whole nother level, man. You're like
Yeah.
the it's kind of like Japanese extreme wrestling, right? Like they're just going to town and trying to do the craziest stunts they can.
Yep.
And that amount of work, I mean, actually, I don't even think people realize how much work that is, how much training that is to be able
Oh
to
yeah.
do their types of stunts, you know? So, I mean, hats off to them.
And obviously the character stuff in that was like,
Amazing.
like people were from outer space, people were
Yep.
reincarnations of dragons, people were
Yeah.
dead being controlled
Yeah.
by like witches and shit. It was awesome.
Yeah. That's what's so great about it. They have their own mythos, their own backstories for everybody.
It was the best. And it's crazy because I remember watching it, and then as a lot of the people in it got bigger in like indies or getting signed to other places, I went and like rewatched the first season. And I remember like obviously Penta is like massive and in WWE now. And
Yeah.
even before that, he had a massive run in AEW and everything. And I remember rewatching the beginning because I fell in love with him during that show. And rewatching the beginning, like he was not over at all. Like people did not fuck with him. And I was like, this is
Right.
so weird. Like it took a
Yeah.
little bit for people to get into him, And I was like, this is kind of crazy to watch. It's like watching a band that didn't like pop off yet. And you were
Mhm.
like following them your whole career. And then the next thing you know, after they put in the work or get the right opportunity, they're massive. And you're like, huh, I remember when I watched them and no one cared. This is cool. Like it's awesome to see. I love stuff like that. It's super cool. But yeah, like kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, I don't remember him being like not because he got over pretty like even in the beginning when he's not like it only took a little bit and then he was a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So it's like it's crazy to see those things build in real time rather than just to be like, oh yeah, this wrestler is a big deal, out of nowhere because it usually doesn't happen out of nowhere. You
Yeah.
just didn't see the journey yet.
I think that's what's weird because I think they like the extreme era. It kind of solidified this idea of you being a human being or a person instead of this abstraction, right? Because
Right.
a lot of those earlier ones were like abstraction versus like now I'm just this dude and I have a real life and I do this and that be able to. Whereas like these people, if you're like I'm from another dimension, like, you know, uh, I remember watching live. I watched when it was oh geez, it was Dustin Rhodes when he had just got done with Gold Dust. And I think he was going back to get the CW, and it was seven, and he was like levitating to the ring, right? Like he goes into the ring, and then he just totally says, "I'm supposed to be this stupid ass character seven. I was Gold Dust for a bunch of years. That fucking sucks." And then he just was like, "I'm not doing it." Dropped him like a leave. I was like, "Cool." When he turned into when he was wrestling with his brother, they both hit the stars with the tag team thing. That was
Yeah.
badass. I was like, you're taking that character in a whole nother direction, and that's way fucking cooler, And but yeah, there was a whole era, time period where it seemed like they kind of way out made it great, and I think they're starting to use back into it. Yeah, wrestling is one of those things.
It is. It
Yeah,
is. It is one of those things. It's kind of either you were into it and you were really into it, or you were never into it, or you've just watched like Royal Rumble and WrestleMania a few times. And there's
yeah,
like kind of those are the three pockets you kind of live in. There's no really in between with wrestling.
yeah.
You kind of unless you watch those big things, and that's kind of it.
It is
It's like
kind of
the
what
Super Bowl.
helped incite some of our shows as well, because we would always do a default show where it'd be like, okay, well, we all do a Destroy All Monster show or a wrestling show because wrestling show is very easy to convey. Okay, here's some suggestions. They're going to come out. They're going to wrestle. Like we have belts, the McGuff. We're trying to get these belts easy, right? You know, uh, have a campaign of cost you heroes come out and wrestle. We used to do all kinds of crazy stuff.
It's awesome.
Yep.
I do want to talk about something that I think you guys did a few months ago that I think was really awesome. So you guys did these from the GWAR Letterboxd account. You did some reviews for some of the Oscar nominated movies. I just want to. This was great. I just want to read a couple here.
Sure.
Uh, for Sinners, 5 stars. Oh shit, this is not Twilight.
Right.
Insane. A begonia, 3 stars. Our culture is not your cost. Hamnet, 3 stars. Smoked weed with Shakespeare back in the day. Surprised the story never came up. And there's a bunch of other ones too that are on you guys posted on your socials as well. Can you give me a little bit of like a backstage look of like what was the thought process to do this kind of thing? Because it is funny because this show it's like that kind of thing is like the precipice of the show. Like
Sure.
that's kind of like the nature and the whole idea behind it. And I've been doing it for a little bit, but like this past year, I saw a lot of bands like kind of doing this like Oscar stuff. Like the Wonder Years posted videos about like their favorite movies of the year and stuff like that. You guys were doing this, so can you walk me through like a little bit like kind of like what got you to do that? Like what was the idea behind that and everything?
I mean, we always have some sort of commentary, right? Like we're always like wanting to, and if with the show, it's that's a reflection of it, right? Of what's going on, what's happening in the world and stuff. So yeah, fighting those types of things are, sort of the outsider looking in, right?
Right.
We can sit there and go, look, this is absurd or this is ridiculous or poke fun at it. So that's the antithesis of it, really. It was just like, oh, this would be fun to poke at all these people.
I love that. And it is cool too. You get to like have something that's fun and culturally relevant and have your own totally different kind of take on it that's obviously very unserious in your
Yeah,
brand of way. It's great. And I love that the monster the monster leading movies it's got 5 stars. Like
yeah,
Frankenstein got 5 stars,
of course.
Sinners got 5 stars. I was like,
Yeah,
that's good. That's smart. A little detail. A
yeah.
little detail that's
These melodramas between these humans that you not care.
couldn't care less.
Actually,
Or
those,
even like Marty Supreme saying like we really watched this scrawny guy play ping pong for
yeah. I sat there for an hour and a half. No, it was okay. I did that, but
I
yeah,
like that I like that that movie, like, isn't really about it is about ping pong, but it's not. It's really just about a
yeah, that's
psychopathic individual.
yeah, that's the thing when you talk about like how to do these. Would it have been better as just a documentary versus some sort of
Mm.
abstracted biopic? And and that I think where people get and then people going, no, 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 that's a bad idea. I think we're all sponges for pop culture in that sense. If you look at like all the different stuff that you see on a GWAR show, we're definitely inspired by different things that we abstracted to our own thing and then we turn it into GWAR. So it's like that's kind of how it works, like creative process most of the time. It's not like you just suck it up, you throw 100%. Oh, that is a lot like this or a lot like that. It's like your parts, your inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of the best of anything that we consume anyway,
Yeah,
like, 'cause it's I've found it more recently that some things come out and I'm like, this does feel like something it's hard to say original because I don't know if anything is quite original anymore because everything's kind
hard
of
to,
been
yeah,
done.
hard to,
It's just like some people can just do a fresh take on something that's maybe familiar or something like that. And I feel like that's been happening a little more recently. But
sure,
like the best things are, like the best amalgamations of other things. You know what I mean? They take a little piece of this, a little piece of this, and blend it together, and they're like, oh yeah, here's this kind of new thing. Like, yeah, it's similar to this and this, but it's its totally own thing. And I think that's the kind of the secret sauce to stand out in today because there's so much out there in
sure.
anything comics, music, video games, movies, TV, like there's so much out there. It's almost like overwhelming, for anyone.
Yeah,
So it to really stand out and be at the top of the pack. I feel like you need to do that. You need to
yeah. I mean,
do those
I've
great.
been excited about like I don't know if He-Man movie is gonna be great, but the fact that he started a fan for into Castle Grayskull for the premiere. I don't know if you
Sick.
saw that. I was like, I've been wanting to be like, go, all my friends go down there, take pictures. Yeah. It's gonna be amazing. In that time period, in the, like say early '80s, where it was like mushing together like science fiction and sword and sorcery and like magic and primitive stuff to where like, He-Man was, one of those examples. I feel like there are many of those, but that genre doesn't seem to get nowadays. You don't see so much of that, right? With like those are topics here ideas, and I kind of miss that because like oh, it's such a weird thing, like barbarians with laser guns and power sports and stuff, like riding dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
cool.
The team behind that movie, and it actually looks way better than I thought it would. If I'm being
Sure.
like, when I saw the first trailer, I was like, wow, this looks a lot better than I thought it would be. And it's
Yeah.
like I grew up in the '90s, so I kind of missed the He-Man cartoon, but I was always
Sure.
aware of it and everything like that. And then Kevin Smith did a more recent. It wasn't a remake; it was a continuation of the story from the animated shows from the '80s,
Hmm.
and I thought it was really fucking good. Like Mark Hamill voiced Skeletor; it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
So when I kind of heard the movie was coming and Travis Knight's doing it, who did like Bumblebee and stuff like that, I was like, oh man, this could be cool. And then I saw the first trailer, I was like, oh wow. The only kind of thing that set me back was when the main I can't even remember his name, but the guy playing He-Man, when he got announced, I was like, he's a good actor, but I was like, he's kind of small to be He-Man. But
Right.
then I saw like the first image and I was like, well, never mind. He fucking proved me wrong because that dude is massive. I
Yeah.
was like, damn, but it's like I guess you can't discount actors for doing that. It's their job. They get a
Yep.
trainer and they go on a crazy diet and workout plan and they make it happen. Like we've seen it a million times at this point. I don't even know why I doubted it. That was silly on my part. But yeah, I was
Sure.
like, good for him. That dude is big. And I'm glad that he looks that way in real, because I would feel like it would be really hard to pull off like the traditional He-Man where he's like really small and then he gets a sword and he's massive. Like that would have been a little hard to pull off. I mean, I guess they could have done a different actor or like a kid actor or something, but I feel like for a live action thing, it's probably better that he's the same guy, in
Yeah.
my opinion,
Yeah.
anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's just
But
easier.
yeah, you want him to be the same dude because that's primarily a cartoon. You're like, okay, so the only reason that these people don't know who he is because he changes, he puts clothes on.
Right. Yeah. A little silly.
Yeah.
Little silly.
Yeah, totally. But that's the whole thing about, some of these cartoons when I was a kid, it was like, yeah, that suspension of disbelief because you're like the Superman thing. Oh well, kick his glasses off and put on a cape and then he's Superman. It's like, none of these people connected this.
That's why I loved in James Gunn's Superman, it's a line of dialogue. He's like, he's wearing hypno glasses, so you don't even see his
Yeah.
face. And I'm like, that explains it. It
Yep.
also took was one line.
Yep.
That's it. And you're like,
Yep.
oh yeah, that makes sense. Of
That
course you
totally
wouldn't.
makes sense. That's
Yeah,
the baloney I was looking for right there.
yeah, you're like, it just takes one little line. That's all that's
Hmm.
all it takes. Otherwise, you're like, you really didn't recognize that guy? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on. Lex Luthor didn't recognize that guy?
Yeah. He's got the same haircut.
And I will give it to David Corenswet because I actually kind of wanted to see more of Clark Kent in that movie because the way he kind of played, like his body posture and even the way he talked was so different for both versions, for Clark Kent to Superman. And I respected that so much. I was like, this dude is doing the thing, like for real. Like you
Mhm.
could tell the difference. And he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And he made himself like look and feel small when he was Clark Kent. And that's a hard thing to pull off. And he
Yeah.
did that. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like I was like, this is so cool. Because like, especially in today's day and age, like everything's under a microscope. You know what I mean? Like people
Sure.
don't look at movies and TVs the same way as they used to in the 80s, the 90s, or even the early 2000s. Like everyone is hypercritical. They're not even like looking to watch this stuff to be entertained. They're looking to pick it apart and stuff. So it's like
Sure.
if you're putting those kind of details in that kind of stuff, like A plus to you,
Yeah.
like awesome, good stuff.
Well, I do think that we're in it too because, like, with movies and television and all that, they're just trying to make it so fast that they don't get to curate the material as well as they used to. So it's definitely a thing where it's like there's some stuff that's okay, stuff that it's not crappy. There are things out there still, but it's not as spread out as if you were just trying to put something out every. Let's do the blockbuster for the summer. It's interesting to see this amount of output, and I do think that's why people are overcritical about it because they're they've been disappointed quite a bit, so it's an unfortunate circumstance of trying to put out that much stuff, like,
Yeah, and I think a lot of studios, not all of them, but some of them have definitely learned that lesson and kind of course corrected and been like, okay. And it's crazy to see like how technology has affected all that stuff too, and advancements because you see so many movies, even the big Marvel movies, and especially like Superman. Like if you watch the documentary behind that, how much of that was practical sets or like filmed on location and stuff like
oh,
that.
yeah, I knew that.
Oh,
That was great.
so cool. And a lot of people are going back to that kind of thing.
I like, they did what do they call it? The volume for
Yeah, the
volume.
volume. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the that makes cool, but you definitely lose something from being there. Being at the
Yeah.
place or being somewhere at a set or you know, I don't know what it is. It's like the difference between a guide monster or a practical monster. There's
Yeah.
something about it, the light that's in something physical or something digitally rendered. There's something there.
And even with that, people are learning that you can't use it as a replacement, you can use it as part of it.
Yeah,
And that's like the big and I love that people are finally realizing that,
yeah,
which I think they probably should have faster. It's kind of with anything. People see a thing, it's convenient, they latch onto the convenience and they realize, "Oh, we can use a mix of things and that makes the best product," and then we
yeah.
go forth and do that. Because there's a crazy House of the Dragon scene, I think in season 2 or something. I just saw the behind the scenes, like, VFX kind of everything with it, and it's a big scene with a dragon, and part of it is the volume, but just part of it. It's, like, practical
Right,
built in with the volume, and speaking of Superman 2, they used, sort of like volume technology, but they filmed, like, the Antarctic winter, like, snow, glacier
yeah,
kind of stuff for real, and then they put it on like a volume like screen and then they had David Cornsweet on wires like flying through and that was like the background and like that's how you use it. You use it as a tool
yeah,
to make it and it's obviously they have to build in the whatever the background is, but a lot of the times I think they used like CGI or they made those backgrounds. But it's like I think people are learning now like, oh yeah, if we film the actual environments, use it as a part of the background and I think a thing too is that obviously if you're in a volume, you're only stuck in like X amount of space.
yeah,
So if you're like walking or something, you can only
yeah.
go to a certain point.
Okay,
The
and
roof is not.
shot. Yeah,
So you can kind of see like the lines of the scene sometimes if you look close enough because like you literally can't go past that point. It's like playing a video game or something. Like
yeah,
you can't go past this one point because it doesn't exist. So it's like that thing too. I think that's part of the thing that kind of is in your brain. Where like something isn't quite right about this.
yeah,
And that's what it is. It's like because it isn't real. And you're like, you can kind of see the uncanniness of it in different ways, even if you don't know what it is. It's a subconscious thing.
yeah.
It's like when
That's
CGI is super weird, you're like, ugh,
yeah,
what? You're like, the fuck is that?
yeah. No, I definitely I'm excited to see what they'll do with the tech, especially the guy who will actually, accentuate practical effects or live action stuff together with, um, because it looks so much better. I know that uh, the first couple Underworld movies, or their director was doing that work with a lot of stuff, was dudes and dudes and just accentuating like weaknesses or things that would be practically a lot harder to pull off, transformation scenes or things like that. But accentuating it, it's always been a lot better. I think like the uh, those pivotal ones was that uh thing prequel where they did all the CGI. Like they did some interesting stuff with CGI, with the effects artists were charged to build all the effects, had all the effects ready, and they were like 10 times better than the CGI. They looked so much cooler, and they were so much like wow, figured out how to make it practically. And the actors, everybody had a easier time. Be like, "Nah, I'm scared of this thing that's right in my face," and and the fact I don't know. I feel like that movie Little Fail was that kind of thing where they relied on. Okay, now you're fighting a guide monster. I know this guy's an agreement being captured here, but okay, just pretend. Like you know, I want to see a monster put up my face like rainbow. I
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And again, like I love that we're seeing a comeback of that in through all everything, not even just horror. And I mean, obviously in horror, it's kind of been a prevailing thing forever. I mean, there is some 2000 stuff where when CGI became like a big thing, some did overuse it way too much,
yeah,
but we're definitely in a place where horror is like they're as practical as it can be. Like
yeah.
and they will
I
they will
mean,
stick.
the horror genre learned that.
Yes.
There's the truck stop movies that you get that are like, well, we did a bunch of CGI stuff in our backyard. You know, there's that, but there's definitely a lot of the bigger studios are like, yeah, okay, let's keep it practical. Or I guess the director credits probably what they're like. We want it to be X. I don't want to deal with this in post. I want to see what it looks like right now. I want to get my
And that's the beauty of having CGI too, because even if things don't look as perfect practically, you can just fix it up a little,
yeah.
and that's the best use of CGI is
I
when you
think
use it
so.
to
You know,
assist those things,
other than maybe like tracking atmospheres and things that make it look cool, like if you're in outer space or something, that kind of stuff. But yeah, just like a lot of the people just use it. Uh, I mean, I was watching it do little run throughs that are made miniatures of all the Mandalorian ships, and he had a snorkel cam. And he was actually including practical, old school, compositing of all the practical ships, and it still worked
Wow.
20 times better. I'm like, yeah, this model, it's like it was amazing.
Yeah, which is crazy because like The Mandalorian does have a good mix of practical stuff, and
They
like
do,
obviously
they
Grogu
do.
is a puppet and
Yeah,
looks amazing,
it's an
looks
amazing
so good,
carpet.
you know. But yeah, it's like, and it's funny because I've seen some Star Wars stuff do those things. Like there was that show Skeleton Crew,
Oh
and there's
yeah,
this big crab monster in one of the episodes, and they did it like stop motion, like they did old school stuff. Like they showed an awesome behind the scenes video of it was because I was like, wow, that looks really good. And I was
yeah.
like, that's why it was this miniature stop motion thing. And then they used perspective.
It was that show Farscape that really solidified it for me because Henson was doing the facts and the puppets and stuff. For it's like you're looking at that and everything's physical, everything's there. All the monsters that like had a huge big spider guy, bartender guy that was there. They interacted with public characters. It was very cool.
What are some things you're watching now currently, whether it's like movies or TV stuff, like what kind of stuff are you into?
Funny because lately it's just retro everything, looking at old stuff. Not so much on the new stuff, but I mean, I'm trying to think what new I've been watching. I think what uh was it uh have fun or good luck, have fun, don't
Let Fun
die.
Don't Die.
Yeah, so great.
Wow.
I saw it in the theater. I was like, yay! Or even like I will say, Predator Badlands from last year. Man, what a great one! They definitely did a good job of making it and finally showing people that you can make the main character, the alien, you have to have. I mean, technically, she's not a human, aesthetic. So no humans in this movie
Yeah.
per se. But I was like, this is it. This is how you do it right here. I care about all these characters. Hopeful that's the role they'll go with these movies. Like understanding that you don't have other ancillary third party characters, your main character Transformers, with how many times I was disappointed when I had to watch a subplot of humans that I don't care about when all I needed to see was robots, right? And well, I
Yep.
will say the only flip that I saw that did such a great job was Godzilla minus one. You know,
Oh
like
my
that
god.
one, you care about everybody, you're invested in everything, and
Yep.
and that's it. Like it's weird how people have forgotten that the storytelling is the important part of it, right? You have to be
Yes.
invested in the story. You can't sit here and like, I just got this cool protagonist. He's so cool. Look at her, or she's so cool. Look at all the stuff she could do. It's like, okay, but why do I even give a fuck about any of this? So that's where I feel like I do feel like Hollywood lost their way. I think a lot of the other cinema, all like say Bollywood or China or any of the countries that have got a big uh, cinema industry are starting to kick their butt because they're just worldwide. They're they know their markets, right? They're understanding that I'm not trying to get out of script and put something to market because I got to make a summer tentpole fucking production. It's I'm making good movie to entertain people. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, I'm not going to ruin a brand just because I need to rely on IP that I can't create. I'm gonna I'm gonna work on something original or cool on my own and make it cool and that people will get invested in. You know, and I mean that's it. Fans will support shit that they're totally into. You know, if I don't know, I'm not trying to go on a tirade, but but it is one of those things that I see like with you what we do, man. We have diehard fans that are, you know, they have grandchildren, you know, so that's the thing. You have to remember the quality of what you're doing.
Godzilla minus one is a great example. Like, especially if you compare it to the more modern Godzilla and like the
Yeah.
American versions of those, like they're just like they're for what they are, they're fine, I guess. But like you can never care about the people in them. Like they're just there.
Matthew Broderick one, I didn't care. I like Matthew Broderick. That's halfway through, like hoping to squish. I was like, come on, man, this is kind of
It's
disappointing.
so weird because Apple's made a TV series that's connected to that world, and they do character very well, actually. And
Okay, good.
Godzilla and Kong are in the background and they pop up and they're not like the main characters like they are in the movies. But I mean, best casting choice ever is that it takes place in two different time periods, and it's called Monarch Legacy of Monsters, so it's about the rise of Monarch.
Okay.
And Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt Russell play the same characters in different time periods, and it's awesome.
Nice.
It's so
Good.
that's so cool. And not to say it's perfect, it has its faults. It has some like, oh, that was convenient. We're moving the plot forward kind of thing. But for the most part, like they actually are characters you care about. And I think they do a lot of work to make the kind of movie verse make more sense, I guess, if you're like really paying attention to that kind of stuff, I guess, which if you're watching those movies, probably not. You're just trying to watch monsters fight each other.
Sure.
But the whole time I'm watching this show, I was like, this show is actually like pretty dope. Like, and I'm like, they need to bring these characters onto the big screen, but I don't know if they'll ever do that. And it's kind of a bummer. Like, I'm like, I want to see these characters, not the whoever the fuck they're trying to push on us in these other movies, other than Dan Stevens. I don't know if you know Dan Stevens. He's an incredible actor, and he was in the last movie. He was the dentist or something.
Oh,
His character was great.
Yeah.
Because he was entertaining.
Yeah.
He knew what movie he was in. When they try to do the overly dramatic stuff in this movie that's like not serious at fucking all, it can get a little tiresome. You're like you said, you're like, I just wanted this guy to get smooth.
Well, I love Edge of Tomorrow because I like the manga, I like the initial story. But because the commercial version had Tom Cruise starring in it, you get Tom Cruise die over and over and over again. I was like, yeah, I'm into that. I can watch that. I can watch that a million times.
I do love that movie though.
That's
I
great.
love it.
It's anything with that secular paradox stuff. I'm totally. There's a movie called Time Crimes. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Think of an Italian or Spanish movie. Before paradoxical time travel movie is, I think, one of the best out there. It's hard to find the flaws, logic on what's happened, you know. But it's awesome. But anyway, any other I don't know. I gravitate towards those types of movies where it's anything that has repeat pattern or you're trying to figure something out, like Total Recall. For instance, I watched maybe me and Hunter watched the movie. He can't think of it. He's like, "Oh yeah, fucking turn it off." But I like I was trying to watch it every day, see if I could find the flaw.
I am a massive sucker for I call them like Groundhog's Day stories,
Yeah,
you know, where
that's it.
you
That's it.
repeat the same motif over and over until you make a solution. And
Yep,
also a big sucker for also time travel movies for sure.
sure.
If you have like time travel and multiverse, if you do multiverse right, then I'm like very in. And then also if you do it in also a non-linear story also is I'm a sucker for. Any of
Yeah,
those, I'm
yeah,
like in from the jump. You got me at
yep.
least at that.
Yeah, agreed. I think those are way it's the how you tell the story. Like, I've borrowed, several times, like, Kurosawa's Rashomon. I had used that, as a template to write a Norman Gaines fail, which was, like, the account of why GWAR got sent to Earth, why they screwed up and sent to Earth, and I always thought that was such a interesting way to tell the story because you're not only telling the story when people invested in it, you're also doing character development between everybody's viewpoint of what they thought was important
Yes.
in the story to tell. Because you're telling the same story over and over again, but you're telling all these different viewpoints. It's like such an interesting way to go. That's what that character or person you thought was important to pay attention to, and that's what that you know. So it's like it's definitely like I don't know. There's like parts I feel like certain points people who watch or try to create a movie or write a book or write a comic or whatever, they go to these tropes, right? And there's too many of the ones that are still in your face that are like, here's the very story arc, here's your very like, you know, easy story structure that you think you don't have to think too much about. And it leads to a bland and because it's like there's so much of that same archetypes out there, if people aren't interested, so I always try to go for like a deeper way of telling those stories or a more abstract way of telling the stories just because I feel like you're gonna the people who get it totally into it and understand it, and the people who don't might just like, you know, be entertained by whatever you're doing. I want them to be at the end of the story blown away by the fact that maybe they didn't realize that this is where this story was going, or the arc was this, or these characters really meant, you know, how they intertwine together was like so much greater than I initially thought, you know. Um, but that to what you're saying, yeah, that's the types of movies or entertainment. Uh, and one of the things you asked me about, like what I'm watching right now, I've been watching Columbo because Columbo is like the crazy easiest way to tell the story. You know, it's kind of fat foodie, right? You're just like, okay, you can see the crime, you can see everybody, everything, and then the rest of the show, you watch it figure it out, and you're going, like, it's him, he's talking to him right now, put him in jail, put him in jail, and it's like, you're like, and it's such a fun way because the lady will be like, oh, he's got it. He's like, one more thing, one more thing.
Thank you so much for doing this with
Yeah,
me,
man.
man. This is awesome getting to chat with you.
It's been fun nerding out with you.
Very awesome. I'd love to do it again if you're ever down to come back. I love
Oh, yeah.
chatting. Yeah. Before we get out of here, please let the people know what you have going on, what GWAR's got going on, where they can find you coming up.
Yeah, currently we're getting ready for a bunch of one-offs. We're doing a Warped Tour. We're doing, there's a bunch of conventions that are coming up that will be out. So if you are looking for dates, don't look at me. I don't know any of them. Go to GWAR.net and go get you dates and appearances from there. We got a big fall tour planned. There's, I think the announce is out. If you want to say anything, be like get in trouble. But yeah, you can get all your stuff there. But yeah, bunch of new stuff coming, and yeah, we're busy.
Of course, and if you haven't already, I'll link all the GWAR links down below so you can go check them out. Make sure you see where they're coming. If they're coming here, make sure you go see them. If you want to support the podcast, just mailcorners.com. All our links there in one easy place. If you want to follow me, my personal account is just at Sean X Mine, Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, see you later, nerds.